Hello everyone, welcome to UNC Charlotte. My name is Dustin Granis. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid here at UNC Charlotte, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit today about the financial aid process and billing here at the university. The way that we handle customer service and our students here, we have a Niner Central office, which effectively serves as our one-stop office here on campus. They answer all questions from financial aid, registration, and billing for our students. And they are open every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 6. They do not require an appointment. You can walk in and get any question that you have answered right there on the spot. Today, we're going to talk about kind of all the things that we do here, how we calculate your aid, how you pay your bill, how we get your financial aid applied to your bill, and the options of aid that we're going to be offering to you. When we're determining your aid and we're looking at kind of how much you might be eligible for, the first thing we have to start with is your cost of attendance. And when we're looking at cost of attendance, we're taking into account all factors, the things that you're going to have to pay for up front, like your billable costs. And that's going to include your tuition, your on-campus housing and dining if you're living here with us on campus. And then every student here is also required to have a health insurance coverage. So those are going to show up on your bill, and we refer to those as billable costs. Your out-of-pocket costs or your non-billable costs are things like your books and supplies, if you're eating off campus or living off campus, and then any transportation costs that you may incur as a student while you're here. This typically occurs for students that are commuting from home with their parents or live off campus and have a short drive to and from classes every day. So when we're looking at these costs, I'm going to kind of give you an example of what you're looking at. So this slide here gives you a breakdown of what we're estimating our costs to be for 2021. On this, you're going to see billable and non-billable costs. So your tuition and fees obviously are going to be on your bill. Everybody's going to be responsible for those. But things that you'll see up here like miscellaneous and your transportation costs, those are not things that will actually show on the bill. These are just estimates that we're taking into account that you may have to pay for while you're a student here at UNC Charlotte. Notice that this slide here is for our residents, our North Carolina residents only. For our out-of-state students, we have different charges specifically with your tuition and fees, okay? So you'll see a little bit of a jump there for our out-of-state students. And again, these are estimates. They typically get finalized for the year sometime late summer by our General Assembly. So the four ways that you can pay your bill, obviously the first is with financial aid, and that's what we're going to go to the most. I'm going to kind of give you a full breakdown of how we calculate your aid, how it gets dispersed to your bill, how you accept it, the whole rundown. The other three options that you have, if you choose not to use financial aid, or you don't get enough financial aid to cover every cost that you have, are making an online payment. Obviously, this is with a credit card, and we offer that feature through our website. You can set up for payment plans, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, and those will help cover any excess costs that you have. Or if you want to do your entire bill through a payment plan, you can definitely do that as well. The last one is a third-party agency, and typically these refer to like scholarship providers or something like that, or they're going to pay for your scholarship or pay for your bill for you. So like if you get a scholarship, they'll send that to the university and we'll apply it to your bill for you on your behalf. So let's talk a little bit about the payment plan. This is a very popular option here at UNC Charlotte. Let's say that you get some financial aid that goes towards your bill, but it doesn't cover everything. Let's say that you have $2,000 left over on your bill. And instead of paying that all up front, $2,000 just off the top, you decide you want to sign up for a payment plan. The way our payment plan works is that you'll pay $55 up front. That's basically to get you started on the payment plan, all right? It's an application fee. And then we're going to take whatever balance you tell us on the payment plan, and we're going to split it over 5 payments. So if you look at the fall breakdown on this slide here, you're going to see that the payments go July, August, September, October, November. And once you make that final payment in November, you should have a zero balance on your bill, which will allow your student to register for the next term. And then you can repeat this process every semester if you'd like to. I love the payment plan. It's a 0% interest rate. It breaks down the payments for you so you're not feeling like you're losing a ton of money up front, and you can space it out over the term. So that's kind of a breakdown of how the billing cycle works and ways that you can pay your bill. Now, like I said, I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid here at UNC Charlotte. So the real thing I want to talk to you about is financial aid and the process that goes into it. I know a lot of people have a ton of questions about it. It can be intimidating, but if you just kind of take your time and work through it and always ask questions that you have, it's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. So the first thing you want to start with financial aid is the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And the first thing you need to remember about this is that it's free, all right? If you ever go to a website to apply for financial aid and they ask you to pay for it or they ask for information regarding payments, you are on the wrong website. Get out of there quickly, okay? the first thing you want to do is to go to studentaid.gov, and that's where you'll find the FAFSA, okay? That's where you'll find the application process to get started. The FAFSA is going to ask you for a lot of information. It's going to ask you for people that are in your household, it's going to ask for your basic demographic information, and then it's going to ask for your tax information. And the FAFSA uses 2-year-old tax data to complete it, all right? So for the 2021 year, we're looking at 2018 tax information. So make sure you have that information handy before you go to fill it out. Then once you get in there, the FAFSA is going to ask you to add a school code. And for sure, we want you to add UNC Charlotte school code. It's 002975. It's displayed up here on the slide for you in case you forget it. But you can also search by the university by name once you get into the FAFSA. So don't panic if you get in there and you can't remember what our school code is. You can just type in University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and we'll pop right up there for you. And then you make sure that we're listed on there because that's how we're going to get your information. If you don't include your school code, we won't show up, we won't see your information, and we can't get you that financial aid award offer that we really want to get to you. It's always better to fill out your FAFSA sooner rather than later. The earlier you get your FAFSA to us, the better opportunity you're going to have for financial aid. But if you haven't completed the FAFSA yet, you still can. We really, really want you to go out and get your FAFSA completed because there's still aid available. Federal aid never runs out regardless of when you fill your FAFSA out. Sometimes state and institutional aid can run out, so the sooner you get that FAFSA to us, the more opportunity you're going to have as a student to qualify for the aid that you really, really want. All right? So then once you've got your FAFSA filled out and you've added our school code, what you're going to want to do is we're going to calculate that aid for you. Okay? We're going to determine how much you can have based on what the federal government tells us for your FAFSA. And the way we do that is we start with the cost of attendance that I showed you earlier. That big long sheet that had all the costs, the billable and the non-billable, we're going to add all those together, and that gives us a baseline of how we're going to calculate your aid. So let's say that you have $20,000 billable and non-billable total cost of attendance, right? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take your EFC, and that comes from your FAFSA. It's the expected family contribution. Don't think of it as a dollar amount that you're going to owe the school. It's just a number that helps us determine how much need a student has. So we're going to take your cost of attendance, let's say it's $20,000. Then we're going to take your EFC, or your expected family contribution, let's say it's $10,000, and we're going to subtract those out. That means that as a student, the federal government has told my office that you have $10,000 in need. And then we can start awarding you appropriate values and appropriate funds based on that, okay? So that's a general view of how we calculate how much financial aid and what types of financial aid you can receive as a student. So now once we have that figured out, we're going to start looking at all the aid that we can give you. And there's basically 3 categories. You have your merit-based aid, your need-based aid, and then your non-need-based aid. So the way it works, we're always going to give you your merit aid first. And merit aid is typically scholarship dollars that you as a student have earned prior to applying to our university or prior to coming to our university. So let's say you're in high school and you got really good test scores, you had great extracurricular activities, and you got some scholarships. Well, we're going to apply those to your award package first because remember, we can't exceed that cost of attendance that we start with. So we always want to give you the best aid up front, and that's aid you don't have to pay back. Once we've given you your merit-based scholarships, then we're going to move on to the need-based aid, and we're going to start with what are called grants. Any grant that you can receive as a student is money you don't have to pay back. So we want to get that to you first. After we've done grants, we're going to move into the need-based loans, and that's the subsidized loan. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about what that is in just a second. After we've done those 2 things, then we're going to move into the non-need-based aid. So if you remember back to my example, when we had a cost of attendance of $20,000, an EFC of $10,000, and need of $10,000 at the end, once I exceed that $10,000 in merit-based and need-based aid, then I have an additional $10,000 that you could qualify for in non-need-based aid. And that's going to be your unsubsidized loan, your Parent Plus loan, and then your alternative loan. All right, so let's talk about it a little bit, what kind of grants you could qualify for if you have that eligibility based on your FAFSA. So here's a brief rundown of kind of some of the grants that we work with, dollar amounts that we have seen for the upcoming year, kind of what we're looking at, and how these might impact you as a student. And again, the only way you can qualify for this funding, which is the funding you don't have to pay back, it's the best funding out there, is to fill out your FAFSA as soon as possible, okay? So get that to us so that hopefully, if you qualify for some of these awards, we still have some left over. Then we're going to talk about loans. And to be honest with you, nobody wants loans. Nobody wants to have debt, and I understand that. I applaud you if you are a student or a family that can get through college without taking on student loans. But the fact of the matter is a large majority of students have to take out some student loans while they're in school. And since you're going to have to take some of them out, the best thing you can do is educate yourself on how they work, what they are, what are repayment plans, and how the interest rates affect you as a student or a borrower. So on this slide, what you're going to see is a breakdown of the federal student loan program. It includes subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans. And you'll notice a couple things on here. One, as you advance from freshman to sophomore to junior, you're going to notice that these loans increase by about $1,000 each year. And that's because as you go through and you're earning credits, we want to award you a better loan. And the subsidized loan is the better of the two loans. So we want to increase your eligibility as you progress through school. So almost think of it as like a reward type thing. The other thing that you'll notice as you go through here is that the interest rates look to be the same on both loans. But there's a big caveat to that. There's a big difference. The reason the subsidized loan is the better of the two loans is because the subsidized loan actually has a 0% interest rate with it while your student is here in college, enrolled at least half-time. So for undergraduate students here at UNC Charlotte, that's 6 credit hours. So as long as you're taking 6 credit hours each term and you maintain continuous enrollment, the loans that you borrow under the subsidized loan formula will have a 0% interest rate with them. That is the best loan that you can get. You can't go wrong with that. That means if you take out $2,000 as a freshman, you maintain continuous enrollment until you graduate, that loan is still $2,000 when you separate from school. It will not start accruing interest until 6 months after 6 months after you actually separate from school or drop below that half-time mark, okay? Now, once that 6 months is over, then you're going to have the same interest rate that you're looking at with your unsubsidized loan. But remember, your unsubsidized loan is accruing interest throughout, whereas your subsidized loan, as long as you maintain 6 credit hours or higher, should be at a 0% interest rate. So my main advice to you, if you don't remember anything else from this presentation, if you're offered a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan, and you know you have to borrow student loans, make sure you take the subsidized loan out first before you do anything else, okay? Once you've used that, if you want to use an alternative loan or an unsubsidized loan, that's up to you. But use your subsidized loan when and where you can. One other loan that I want to talk to you about is what's called the Parent Plus loan. Now this loan is a loan that the parent can borrow, not the student. All right? The first two loans, the subsidized and the unsubsidized loans, those are for the student. And they're guaranteed loans. There's no credit check with those. If we offer them to the student, they are eligible for them. Bar none, we give them to them, we're good to go. We'll apply it to the bill. The Parent Plus loan is an additional loan that the parent can borrow. Now there are some differences. One, it's credit-based. So as a parent, when you go to apply for this loan, the Department of Ed is going to run your credit to determine if you're eligible. If you are, great, no problems. We take the loan, we apply it to the student's bill, just like we do their subsidized and unsubsidized. If for some reason your credit is denied by the Department of Ed, you do still have some options. One is that you can appeal the decision, or you can use an endorser or a co-borrower to qualify for the loan. But let's say that you don't want to do that. Let's say your credit gets denied and you just want to stop the process there. That's okay. Your student, because you were denied for the Parent Plus loan, your student can qualify for an additional $4,000 in the unsubsidized loan program, and we can add that to their eligibility. So even just by going out and applying for this loan, even if you know you're going to get denied, your student can qualify for additional funding. So just be aware of that. One other thing that I want you to be aware of, because sometimes there's a lot of incorrect information floating around out there, and that is that if you as a parent borrow this loan and you're approved for it and we apply it to the student's bill, this loan is yours to pay back. You as the parent are responsible for making the payments on this loan, and it can never be transferred to the student, okay? So if you don't make payments on this loan, it hurts your credit, not the student. So please be aware of that. If you borrow this loan, it's your loan until it's paid off. The last set of loans is an alternative loan feature, all right? Now what these are private loans that you as a parent or you as a student could go out and borrow on your own. There's typically an application process. There's typically a credit check required regardless if it's student or parent. And then if you're approved, we'll get a notification from that lender, and then we'll apply that loan to your bill on your behalf. The one thing I would tell you about these is do your research on these alternative loans. You want to know what the interest rate is, if it's fixed or variable, and you want to know what your repayments are going to look like. When do they start, how much are they going to be, and how long do you have? If you do your research on those three things, then you could find a very good, a very affordable alternative loan out there. So just do your research and take your time with that. And always, always ask questions. We are more than happy to help you. While we can't recommend a lender to you, we are more than happy to tell you the things you should be looking for with these private loans. All right, so this is a subject near and dear to my heart. This is a different type of financial aid funding, federal work study. This again comes from your FAFSA, and there's actually a question on the FAFSA that asks if you want to be considered for federal work study. Always answer yes, even if you're not sure. And the reason is, if you answer yes to that question, it gives us the opportunity to provide you with this funding that you may choose to accept once you're a student here with us. Federal work study, the way it works, these are typically part-time jobs on campus. Our students work somewhere between 8 to 10 hours a week on average, and they'll get a check every 2 weeks based on the hours that they've worked. The thing that I love the most about federal work study, and it's something that I didn't really think about when I was a federal work study student a long time ago when I was in college, is that when you graduate from college, not only did you have this extra income coming in because of this job, but you're also leaving college with an experience level on your resume. So when you think about it, all the students that are coming to college and just going to classes and getting their degree, but they're not working, you have a step up on them because you're leaving with experience from college and checks every 2 weeks that also help you out. This is multiplied if you can find a work study position that is related to the field of study that you're in. And I highly recommend taking the time, looking through the jobs that are here on campus to see kind of what you're interested in and what options are available. And again, as always, like I've said multiple times in this presentation, ask questions. If you don't understand how something works, if you don't understand how to apply for these federal work study jobs, come to Niner Central. They will be glad to kind of talk you through it, give you some ideas, anything they can do to help. But if you're offered this funding, please, please, please take advantage of it. I can't stress how important, one, the extra funding is, because if you're like me, I was broke my first week in college because I just spent all my money on stuff I didn't need. So it was very nice to have this paycheck every month. But two, when you leave, you won't regret having that experience on your resume when you go to your first job interviews. All right, the last thing I'm really going to talk to you about is scholarships. Here at UNC Charlotte, we have one of the best scholarship websites that I've seen at any of the universities I've worked at. When you apply for admission here, you'll get an ability to sign into this website. And this website will allow you to build a profile, and that profile will show you the scholarships that we think you are going to be eligible for. And to be honest with you, every scholarship that we think you should be eligible for that shows up on your profile, please, please, please take the time and apply for. All right? You never know what scholarship you're going to get, and any scholarship that you get, even if it's $25 or $50, that's money that you don't have to borrow in student loans. So every scholarship helps. Take the time, go out, set up a profile, and apply for these scholarships. And do it yearly. These scholarships, a lot of them are based on the year that you're in college. So even if you don't get anything as a freshman, go out there and apply. You may get something as a sophomore or a junior or even a senior if they're out there and available. So take the time, do the work, put in the scholarship applications. And always, again, if you have questions about them, ask us. And the way that you ask Niner Central questions, right here on this slide. This is their contact information and their location on campus. Feel free, like I said, Monday through Friday, 8 to 6. Walk in, call them, email them. If you have a question or concern that is going to prevent you from either going to college or getting something taken care of that you need to, do not hesitate to reach out to them. They are excellent at what they do. They really, really love talking to students, and they want to help you overcome any problems or questions that you have. So again, my name is Dustin Granis. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid. I hope that this presentation was helpful for you, and if you have questions, just reach out to us. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.